Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Reboot Show. I'm Sally A. Illingworth, and tonight, actually, I'm very excited to be here with Amy Smith and Luke Stowe to have a bit of a discussion about the rise of robots. And I think this is becoming an increasingly exciting conversation. It's also a little bit overwhelming for people. But before we get started, we must do the drill. If you're coming in live, please drop a 1 below. If you're coming in on the replay, please drop a 2 below. And be sure to let us know where you are coming in from. So maybe to kickstart this conversation, let's hear from you, Amy. When people are starting to talk more and more about robots in the workforce and being used in so many different cases, how do you think people feel throughout this process?
Yeah, I think there's a huge fear factor when it comes to this, right? Because it feels like there's, R2D2 is going to walk into your office and take over your job, right? When it's actually, not the case. If you look at the opportunity side of things, you can see that, with the advancements of technology, particularly AI, particularly when we're talking about robotics and things in the workforce, that it's helping people to create more meaning in their jobs and actually do more meaningful work. So if you look at it more as a tool that we can utilize rather than something to be feared, I think that's a pretty big mindset shift for a lot of people.
It's interesting, right? Because I know that, sorry, Luke, before you jump in, one thing that I've read some commentary about over the last whatever period of time, it's quite fascinating, is when people start to talk about quantum computing and then the capability that's going to give robots. I think that's, to your point, Amy, where a lot of the fear is coming in, because people are like, wow, is this robot actually going to have the capacity to become smarter than me? And that's where the fear element comes in. But to your point, it's about repurposing yourself to do more meaningful work. You were going to jump in. What were you going to say?
I was just going to talk about, we've heard fascinating news this week. So we've talked a lot about, the health sector and perhaps, invention around robots bringing in medication and sticky thermometers and all that sort of stuff, which we thought was pretty cool. But
sounds so exciting.
What we read about this week, I was enthralled by, which is we've got robots, headless dogs, apparently robotic dogs that have been developed by the US Air Force, and it's all part of their advanced battle management system. So they call it, with technology, we always have to abbreviate things. They've called it the ABMS.
Can I just say, sorry, before you continue, to Amy's point, it's probably words like that make people a little bit uneasy about this whole conversation.
Well, not if you're a soldier and you're wanting to get some intelligence about the battlefield. This is all part of the strategy. Yeah. So I think this is like military technology we're talking about, but let's then get to what that may mean for people after we've gone through the story. So I'm enthralled by this because, I love a good robot, and these things are called autonomous unmanned ground vehicles. And unlike the normal track system vehicles, these are shaped like dogs. And they've got their mechanical capability through AI and through modelling to take the shape of dogs. So the idea is that the soldiers can remote control these vehicles and send them out onto the battlefield. They've got vision capabilities, so they can look and see what's going on. They can look for traps. They can look for combatants. They can be sent into all type of unsafe areas. They've got scaling capability, so they can climb all types of terrain.
Is there logic as to why it's a dog, though? What are your thoughts on that, Amy? Like, I just find that quite unusual. I'm not deeply read in that space around tech in military, if you like, but I just find it quite bizarre that it's a dog. It's not a human. I thought robotics were venturing into the human space first, but we've gone to a dog.
That's true. I mean, they should have called it Fido. That would have been like an easier name to remember than whatever they called it.
Well, I know Headless.
I know I've had this debate with you before, because we've talked about the fact that I wanted something to help me clean up after my dog, and you said all dogs are going to be robots anyway.
So they're not.
Well, this is heading.
Yeah, we did actually talk about that.
Little Fido is going to be a robot, and I think the reason they've used dog Sally is because they've had the mechanics capability worked out based upon the patterns of movement from an animal, from a dog. And they've just called it a robot dog. But this is fascinating technology. I think some of the interesting parts about this is the data that we'll be able to capture back to the military from sending them these from an intelligence perspective. And also, I think, why stop there with dogs? Maybe the next thing is, an elephant-looking robot, or maybe even like a squirrel.
Wouldn't be as inconspicuous, would it?
Well, I don't think you're padding or throwing
Actually, this is transitioning to.
I think it defeats the purpose of of getting some sneaky intelligence there, Luke. There was an elephant robot sneaking up on the enemy.
No.
This actually is a really interesting conversation because not that I think we should get into a deep dive conversation in relation to the future of warfare, but these sorts of technologies, to Amy's point, there is a lot of fear and overwhelm coming out. And of course, we don't all operate in the military space. So what goes on there on a day-to-day basis isn't a concern to us in our own disciplines, but it concerns us in terms of our livelihoods and whatnot. And I think it's these sorts of advancements that are actually creating a lot of fear for people, because if you can use that in a military environment and it proves to be successful, etc., then a lot of things start in the military, right? So what does this mean for the future of warfare and therefore people being required in warfare settings? You don't need to deploy armies of people. You can deploy headless robots.
But what about the positive aspect of this? Like, think about this.
Like the positive.
Think about this from a user point of view of what comes of this for us. I mean, maybe now we're talking about taking my robot dog for a walk on a Saturday morning, able to get me some exercise, able to maybe measure my health as I'm going for that exercise, able to fetch things for me on a Saturday morning if I want the newspaper from out the front. All these things, I think, have a positive outline. That's the nature of technology advancement. And if it starts in the military, it usually ends up in the private sector. And I think this is encouraging because we've got a lot to look forward to from a robotics point of view.
Well, I think, Amy, you've spoken about it before on the show, in the context of, I think it was in the context of automation, when we were having a discussion about that, and you were referencing that, there's all these new types of jobs. So on the positive note, there are a lot of job opportunities that are coming about because of technology advancement. So although all the functions, if you like, may be made redundant by the human, but there are new opportunities coming. Are we going to have, this rise in demand for people who know how to operate robots from, I presume, a remote control?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone goes to the doom and gloom straight away that, there's going to be job losses and job cuts. I mean, you only have to be in today's environment to really get that and understand that with what's going on. But when you look at it, 65% of school children in primary school right now will be in careers and jobs that don't yet exist. So even, for us as millennials, 10 years ago, we didn't have social media managers. We didn't have all these different jobs that have been created. Like, you can be a drone manager now. There's all of these jobs that actually get created when new technologies are born as well. So I think that's a really exciting thing, to your point, Luke, around, the military operations. And, for some soldiers, they might be thinking, well, I want to be out there and doing some of the combat, and, is this robot dog going to take over my job? But you'll find that there's going to be different ways of working, particularly in that space, that I think will be really interesting to see.
Do you think the education sector, and I suppose industry supporting that in some ways, is keeping up with these new demands for different skill sets? Do you think our education system largely across the globe is equipped to support the demand for all of these jobs? Do we actually have the skills required in our education system to support that?
Great question. Luke and I will argue about this all day, I think.
Well, we may not. And,
let's do it.
And if we're going to, let's start it. So I think the answer is no, they are not equipped. But, I've ranted on for quite a while about the fact that, some countries like India, for example, have a really good system of the technology companies working with the government and working with the local industries so that they do prepare the next wave of jobs that are required based upon the technology advancements of the country. And I think that is something that needs to continue, whether it's private sector or universities or, the rise of the uneducated educator. I think there's going to be a lot of capability that's available to people to learn these new skills and get out there and run these jobs.
And from a career coaching, consulting perspective, leadership development perspective, Amy, what are your thoughts on that part of the conversation?
Yeah, I think there still needs to be a lot of work done in terms of bridging that gap between your studies and industry, particularly at that university level. We've had that conversation on the show, what's the future of universities look like, and are they still relevant? And, I think they have a long way to go in terms of keeping up, because to Luke's point, we need that just-in-time learning now. The technology is happening so fast. So, is a 4-year, 5-year degree to do that really worthwhile? I'm not sure, but there's other solutions that are out there now, and universities are looking at other ways to keep up. And so time will tell, but I think, yeah, there needs to be that just-in-time learning, absolutely, in order to keep up with technology advancements that we're seeing.
I think it's great. Sultan one of our audience members wants to see a robot kangaroo. That would be interesting.
that would be
really
good.
Sultan, thanks for raising that. Appreciate your comments as normal. Appreciate all our audience comments. Don't forget to subscribe, Sultan, because I've got to
subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we are also live on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I just know that Sultan's the type of person we want watching our show. He's creative.
So, this is one really fascinating conversation. As Amy mentioned, we have done a segment on the Reboot show called The Future of Universities, which everyone should go and check out. And as Luke would mention, make sure you do subscribe to the Reboot show YouTube channel. But thinking about the future of work, we had something really exciting happen last night, but we've also got something exciting happening on the 30th of September. So, Luke, do you want to take away what happened last night around the future of work?
Well, Sally, we launched The Future of Work on our YouTube channel, and it was amazing. I wasn't on the panel, by the way, but Amy was, and I think she did an outstanding job. And the conversation, I've watched it about 4 times. I just thought it was an amazing conversation. Really well done. Russell and Alicia. I thought it was with a K for a while on the screen. I had to adjust my screen set to see that.
Different
But Alicia, Amy, and Russell did a fantastic job, and you didn't do a bad job yourself, Sally.
Thanks, Luke. So I appreciate it. I thought it was quite fascinating, and I personally believe as well that Amy, Alicia, and Russell gave great coverage of the conversation. I particularly liked how we sort of spoke about as well, explored the quantitative approaches to human resources. Because Amy, you would know that far better than myself, but I thought it was a really fascinating angle. But Amy, what's happening on the 30th of September?
So the 30th, we are partnering up with WeWork to do a Reboot live session, Reboot Show Live. So we're super excited about that, because we are talking about exactly this topic, where we're looking at really the automation and the AI capabilities and the future of work and what that really looks like. So we're really super excited to talk to you about that and what we're seeing that's happening from, really sort of, I guess, behind the scenes view of what we're actually seeing that's going on, not just the theory, but the practice about how these companies are actually utilizing it and what we can expect in the future.
I've got some great topics lined up for you two. I can't wait for this segment. I'm so
can't wait to argue with you as well, Luke. It'd be great. We don't argue. We just debate.
Healthy debate. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did you two not? I don't want to digress from what's a good conversation here, but did you two agree earlier? I felt like you actually kind of agreed, even though you prefaced it as though you would disagree.
I think you have to watch that again. I don't think I did agree.
You'll have to watch the replay to figure that out, yeah.
I don't think so, Sarah.
Beautiful. So what are the calls to action for our audience? 1, thank you everyone for tuning in tonight live. If you are coming in live, drop a 1 below. If you're coming in on the replay, drop a 2 below. As Luke would say, make sure you go on over to the Reboot Show YouTube channel, subscribe, don't miss a beat. And this Friday, Amy, you guys have your live newsfeed segment, correct?
Every Friday.
Yes, we do. Every Friday.
What time's that Friday, Amy?
Good question. Like, have you checked your schedule yet?
Yeah, it's 12 o'clock, I think. 12 o'clock every Friday.
12 o'clock on Friday. That's it.
And everyone should tune in, because this week we're going to be talking about some fascinating things. I mean, what's happening on TikTok is amazing. But anyway.
I know. There's a lot of progress happening.
12 o'clock Australian Standard Time, that is.
What was that, Amo?
We've got a global show, Luke. So I'm just reminding people that's Australian Eastern Standard Time, 12 o'clock on Friday.
Oh, that's right. Hey, guys, I'm going to go. I'm going to go put in my ad for robotic dog walker. I'm going to get it out. Just get out of the game.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in on the Reboot Show Tuesday Night Live with Amy Smith and Luke Stowe, and we will see you on the next live feed or on the next segment.
Subscribe.
Bye.